March 21st, 2002. Seaton Carew on England's northeast coast. A man heads out to sea in a canoe. There is no storm, no giant waves. None of the kind of chaos that explains a tragedy. And yet, John Darwin vanishes. Hours later, the only thing that turns a scare into an official death appears. The damaged canoe. A paddle. The sea seemingly calm. And a perfect void for everyone to fill in what is missing with the same word: drowning. Because when the ocean gives no body back, imagination does the rest. If this had been a real accident, why would the man who supposedly died that day walk through London 5 years later and tell a police officer he believed he was a missing person? Or worse, why would the whole thing fall apart not because of a brilliant detective, but because of a simple photograph uploaded to the internet, found by an ordinary stranger? This story is about a scam that feels homemade, almost ridiculous, but one that fought for 5 years against the police, insurance companies, banks, immigration, the press, and life itself. 5 years. In that time, the system paid, and it paid with real money: insurance, pensions, enough money to plan a new life on the other side of the world. The real question is not how you fake your death in a canoe. The real question is, how do you survive as a ghost without anyone? Not your children, not your neighbors, not your own habits, giving you away. Because a dead man cannot make mistakes. But John Darwin made one he did not even know existed. The plan does not die at sea. It dies on a screen, a photograph. Before you can understand this story, you have to understand the most dangerous rule of the modern world. You can disappear without leaving a trace, but you cannot collect money without leaving footprints. When someone is lost at sea and there is no body, the case becomes a kind of bureaucratic limbo. There is an investigation, there is paperwork, there are certificates, there are dates, there are decisions. And within that same process lies the temptation. If the state ends up accepting that you are not coming back, the system activates pensions, insurance, benefits, procedures, and every procedure has one thing that seems invisible, but is lethal: a record. The antagonist in this story is not a detective in a trench coat. It is traceability: banks, forms, immigration, insurance companies, cameras, calls, IP addresses, purchase records, transfers, stamps, signatures. And even so, John and Anne Darwin believed they could hack it. Why would someone do that? There is a pressure that makes this lie attractive: debt. The story begins the way many modern tragedies begin: properties, purchases, loans. And then, suddenly, the idea that the only way out is to erase a person. It is not only about money, it is about panic. The kind of panic that makes a man look at his life and think, if I did not exist, everything would be easier. So they choose the perfect setting to stage a death without a body: the sea. A sea that swallows entire stories and gives no evidence back. The day of the accident is designed to be told in a single newspaper line. A man goes out in a canoe, disappears. But the trick is not disappearing. The trick is what happens afterward. Because if he dies, Anne becomes a widow. And a believable widow is not the one who cashes in. It is the one who suffers. The first 24 hours are crucial. Phone calls, the search, concern, the public image of someone devastated. And while the world looks at the sea, the real movement happens on land. Because the plan is that John is dead. But John must remain alive somewhere. And this is where we arrive at the ghost life. The version repeated most often in the media says John hid nearby, even in adjoining properties, or just a few feet from his former life. And that is where this stops being a scam and becomes a domestic horror film. Imagine it: your children mourning their father, and that father breathing behind a wall. The house as a stage set. Out front, grief, in-back, logistics, food, trash, noise, schedules. Because the risk is not only that a police officer sees you, it is that a neighbor sees you, that a friend sees you, that someone sees you in the wrong window on the wrong day. And yet, it works. Time passes. The story cools. People learn to live with the dead man. Then the second act arrives, the money. Because a disappearance is not only a tragedy, it is a file that eventually ends in payouts. But if they had already won, why not stop? Because the plan was never just to collect once. The plan was to build a second life. And for a second life, you need something a dead man should never be able to have: an identity. This is where the detail that turns this story into a modern crime rather than a magic trick comes in, creating an alternate John. There is talk of the alias John Jones, linked to the identity of a baby who died in 1950. And at that point, the plan levels up. It is no longer only about pretending you drowned. It is about becoming someone else inside a system built to prevent exactly that. But ambition has a problem. The bigger your new life becomes, the more traces you leave. At some point, the couple decide that the United Kingdom is no longer the ideal place to be ghosts. Then a word appears that sounds like the final escape: Panama. The idea is simple and tempting. Far from home. Nobody asks too many questions. The past feels like another continent. Panama is not just a destination, it is a reset. Properties, paperwork, purchases, emails, plans. So what was the mistake that brought the curtain crashing down? Posing for a photograph. A normal photo, a couple's photo, new residence, a new life. A photo that, in that moment, seems innocent. Because at first glance, what harm could a photo do? That is the point. The harm does not exist yet. The harm is born when the photo enters the internet. Because the internet does not forget. And what you upload out of pride, excitement, or carelessness becomes bait. Years pass, and then the universe reaches in with a bureaucratic detail that sounds boring, but is a shot through the heart of the plan. A change in visa rules. Suddenly, Panama stops being only a refuge and becomes a trap. Because if your legal status depends on checks, documents, validations, you have a fatal problem. A dead man cannot validate anything. That is the moment when John and Anne Darwin realize something terrible. Their plan is not failing because of suspicion. It is failing because of maintenance. Because maintaining a lie is like keeping a machine running. If one part breaks, it does not matter how well you built the engine. You are stranded. This is where they are cornered into making a decision, and they make it to come back from the dead, but not to come back as a miracle, to come back as paperwork. If the system believes you are dead, you need a doorway to return without setting off the alarm. And they choose an alibi that has saved many liars: amnesia. The narrative is perfect, in theory. I did not come to claim anything. I did not come to collect money. I did not come to demand answers. I am lost. I am confused. I think I am someone who has been reported missing. December 1st, 2007. John Darwin walks into a police station in the West End, London. That moment is surreal. Think about what it means to walk through your own country as if you do not exist. To return to the place where everyone had already buried you in their minds. To put your face in front of a police officer and to expect reality to bend. What happens next is the kind of scene that feels written by a cruel screenwriter. While he tries to convince the authorities that his return is not a crime, outside there is already a bomb that has gone off. Only no one has told him yet. The photograph. The photograph was in Panama, on a website, in some corner of the internet. It was there, available, and an ordinary citizen found it using Google Images. Not a secret agent, not a specialized unit, not a cybercrime team. One person. And in that instant, the lie changes state. It goes from rumor to visual evidence. Because it is one thing to suspect, it is another to see. And when the police and the press have a photograph of a dead man, alive, happy, in Panama, there is no amnesia that can save you. Here the story accelerates as if someone has slammed a foot on the pedal. Suddenly, everything that once looked like a maritime mystery turns into a case of fraud and money laundering. But what about the human damage? Because money can be paid back, but years cannot. The children who lived through mourning cannot unlive it. The community that stood beside a widow cannot erase that compassion. And the man who pretended to be dead discovers that the real punishment is not prison. It is the mirror. Because when a story like this reaches trial, the system takes care to quantify your offense with brutal efficiency. The system puts numbers on sin, and numbers are cold. John receives 6 years and 3 months, Anne 6 years and 6 months. But they also do not escape the financial blow. An order under the Proceeds of Crime Act calculates the benefit at around £679,073. It is not only about paying it back, it is about confiscation, it is about pursuing assets, it is about shutting every exit. A recovery of £501,641.39 is reported, including assets in Panama. And when they try to fight it, they lose their appeals. The lie is no longer a moral debate, it is a closed file. It is mentioned that Anne tried a defense based on marital coercion. But the problem with that argument is time. One thing is an impulsive act. Another is prolonged participation, sustained over time, with logistics, with moves, with identity, with repeated decisions. In a 5-year fraud, every day is a confirmation. The details of the hiding place vary depending on the source. There are versions that speak of a concealed space, a kind of passageway, a place behind something. But even if the exact hiding place changes, the core does not. A man hid long enough to fool the world. And even so, the world found him, not through force, through information. This is a story about being out of step with the age. Because 100 years ago, faking your death could be almost final. You went to another country, changed your name, and, if you were careful, the past became a rumor. But in the century of records, every life leaves a trail. A procedure here, a form there, a purchase, a visa, a signature, a photograph uploaded without thinking. This is not an ocean thriller, it is a desk thriller. The monster does not live under the water, it lives in the cloud. How does a homemade fraud survive for 5 years and collapse because of the internet? The answer is cruelly simple. The modern system does not need to catch you in the act. It only needs you to exist in some record. And once you exist in a record, you exist forever. In the end, John Darwin was not sunk by the sea. He was sunk by the most relentless truth of our era. Everything leaves traces. And that is why this story does not feel like some strange crime from the past. It feels like a warning from the present. Because when a lie is born as a solution to panic, it feels like the quick way out. But the bill always comes, and the ones who pay it are almost never the ones who invented the plan. The ones who pay are those closest to it, the ones who truly wept, the ones who trusted, the ones who carried an absence that never existed. Or, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, support the channel by subscribing. That way, we can keep bringing you new mysteries. And tell me, is there a specific story you'd like us to tell for you? Sending you a hug.